So closing out, working with general trinomials, factor the following expression completely. If the polynomial is prime, then state your answer as that. So we've come a long way. We've worked with general trinomials who had a coefficient that wasn't one. We had a general trinomial whose coefficient was a one. We were learning these words: coefficient, what was the quadratic term, what was the linear term, constant. We talked about the perfect square trinomial. There was two formulas there that we dealt with. And there was also the difference of squares, a squared minus b squared. And we also talked about just factoring in general, where just looking for a common factor and using the distributive property as a way to factor. So just factoring in general, just finding a GCF, if you will. So once you get to the end of all this, then all of a sudden they're trying to ask you to put this all together. Right now, you look at it and you say, well, it's two terms. It should be a difference of squares, but neither one of these numbers is a perfect square. But notice that there is a GCF here. So there's actually an additional strategy we have to do. So we actually have to factor the 3 out because 3 is a common factor. So if I get out of my chart here, I believe 48 does go in there. 48. So let me clear that off again. So 48 divided by 3. Notice how it does give me 16. So I can factor a 3 out. So when I do, that's going to leave me an x squared and a 16. So the 3 comes out, and then I have x squared minus 16, because if you bring it back through, that does match. But the question here is, it says factor completely. Notice this binomial is actually a difference of squares, so it's actually factorable. So notice that the formula a squared minus b squared is also equal to a minus b times a plus b. That formula comes into play too. So not only is there a GCF, but also there's a difference of squares that we have to apply. So this is kind of a multi-step problem. So the 3 comes out, and this factors into the form a minus b times a plus b. So remember, x is your a part, so that's going to be x minus, and then what squared gave you 16 was a 4. And then we're going to have an x plus 4. So that x squared minus 16 actually factors into using the formula difference of squares. So this actually has 3 different factors. 3 is a factor, x minus 4 is a factor, and x minus 4 is a factor, and x plus 4 is a factor. So that now it's factored completely.